Throughout history, humanity has witnessed events so disturbing, so chilling that they continue to haunt us to this day. Today, we're diving into three of the most unsettling and eerie events in history, from deadly experiments to unexplained mass hysteria. These are the creepy facts that you won't believe actually happened. Our first story takes us back to the early 20th century, where a group of young women known as the Radium Girls became the tragic victims of corporate greed and scientific ignorance. In 1917, these women were employed to paint luminous watch dials with radium, a substance that glowed in the dark, but there was a deadly secret. They were instructed to lip point their brushes, placing the tips in their mouths to keep them sharp. Unbeknownst to them, every time they did this, they were ingesting tiny amounts of radioactive material. The effects were horrific. Their bones became brittle, their jaws rotted away, literally disintegrating in their mouths, leaving them in unbearable pain. Some suffered from anemia, bone fractures, and necrosis of the jaw, a condition so grotesque it was dubbed radium jaw. But the most tragic part, the company they worked for denied responsibility, claiming the radium was safe. It wasn't until years later that these women received justice, but by then, many had already succumbed to their gruesome fate. The Radium Girls remind us of the dark cost of corporate negligence and the dangers of unchecked scientific advancement. Our next story is something out of a nightmare, a bizarre and terrifying event known as the Dancing Plague of 1518. In the summer of that year, in the town of Strasbourg, France, a strange phenomenon took hold. It started with just one woman who began dancing uncontrollably in the streets. Within days, dozens more joined in, dancing day and night, unable to stop. The authorities were baffled. Doctors were called in, but they could find no physical ailment causing this strange behavior. Days turned into weeks, and the number of dancers grew to hundreds. Many danced until they collapsed from exhaustion, some even dancing themselves to death. What could have caused this mysterious outbreak? Theories range from mass hysteria brought on by stress and famine to ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold that grows on damp rye. But to this day, no one knows for sure. The idea that an entire town could be gripped by an unstoppable urge to dance, with deadly consequences, is as terrifying as it is perplexing. Our final story takes us to one of the darkest chapters of World War II, an unspeakable atrocity committed by Unit 731, a covert branch of the Imperial Japanese Army. Unit 731 was disguised as a water purification unit, but in reality it was a site for some of the most horrific human experimentation ever conducted. Thousands of prisoners, including Chinese civilians, Russian soldiers, and others, were subjected to unimaginable cruelty. Victims were infected with deadly pathogens, exposed to frostbite to study the effects, and even dissected alive without anesthesia to observe the internal workings of the human body. The scale of the inhumanity is almost beyond comprehension, and what makes it even more chilling is that many of those responsible for these atrocities were never brought to justice. Instead, they were granted immunity in exchange for their research data, leaving the world with the unsettling knowledge that such horrors went unpunished. From the tragic fate of the Radium Girls to the mysterious dancing plague and the horrific experiments of Unit 731, these stories serve as a stark reminder of the darker side of human history. They are stories of suffering, madness, and unimaginable cruelty. Stories that we must remember, no matter how unsettling they may be. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more creepy content. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.